membership has selected Jacksonville as the 30th NFL club.
The Jaguars burst into the NFL with early success few expansion teams ever see. But since then, a painful cycle of bad drafts, worse coaches, and missed chances. They're one of just 4 teams to never make a Super Bowl, and fans are left asking the same question year after year. Is this just who the Jags are? Let's rewind the tape and figure out why Jacksonville can never seem to stay out of their own way. In 1995, the Jacksonville Jaguars were welcomed into the NFL as an expansion team, and they ushered in their new era by hiring Tom Coughlin as their first ever head coach. Then, in the 1995 draft, their first pick in franchise history was spent on offensive tackle Tony Boselli. As it turns out, both decisions were home run hits. Boselli would go on to be a Hall of Fame tackle, and Coughlin would oversee one of the smoothest introductions into the NFL we've ever seen. Just 4 wins in 1995 might not sound like a lot, but it's not a bad effort for a team's first ever season. They then proved this was not your typical expansion team experience when posting a very impressive 9-7 record in 1996. Mark Brunell was a competent set of hands under center, and he benefited from a superb set of offensive playmakers. Keenan McCardell and Jimmy Smith earned the nickname Thunder and Lightning for their good play, with both players enjoying long and successful careers, kickstarting their Jags tenure with 1,000 yards apiece in that 1996 season. This yardage explosion from Thunder and Lightning made Mark Brunell the league's leading passer with 4,367 yards, 19 touchdowns, and 20 interceptions. With a 9-7 record under their belt, the Jags just kept surprising people. First by beating Buffalo 30-27 in the wild card round, and then defeating Denver by the same score in the divisional round. To say that the Broncos' victory was a surprise would be a massive understatement. It was a downright stunner, with Denver boasting a 13-3 record on the year, with future Hall of Famer John Elway under center. The Denver Post even ran an infamous column ahead of the game, calling them Jaguars and asking for a legitimate opponent. Whoops. Unfortunately, the fairy tale story ended 1 week later in the AFC Championship game, where the Jags fell to the New England Patriots. Still, to have fallen just 1 game short of the Super Bowl, just 1 year after entering the NFL, was incredible. The Jags were the new kids on the block, and they were here to win. The victories kept coming in the years that followed, with them logging 11-5 records in both 1997 and 1998, without being able to convert either into a deep playoff run. In 1998, fan favorite running back Fred Taylor was drafted in the first round, helping the team win their first division title before 1,636 yards from Jimmy Smith stuck the team on top in 1999. Jacksonville's 14-2 record was the best in the NFL, aided by a truly dominant defense that held opponents to a league-low 13.5 points per game. The Jags defense, led by Tony Brackens, Kevin Hardy, and Gary Walker, notched 57 sacks, which was the most in the NFL. In the playoffs, Miami were battered by a record-setting margin of 62 points to 7, before the team eventually lost in the AFC Championship game to Tennessee. Once again, there would be no Super Bowl appearance, wasting away the team's best ever season. That missed opportunity proved to be a big one for the Jags, as the following years were not quite so fun. That AFC Championship game loss marked the end of what is now seen as the golden era of Jaguars football, declining to just 19 wins between 2000 and 2002. Tim Coughlin was fired after a second consecutive 6-10 season in 2002, kickstarting a reset with Jack Del Rio at the helm in 2003. Many of the legends who had made the Jags a perennial powerhouse in the late 90s had gone, but one player who was still playing at a high level was Fred Taylor. He racked up multiple seasons over 1,400 yards before powering the Jags back to winning ways in 2004 with 1,224 yards. This progress converted into a brief resurgence in the mid-2000s, with a strong defense leading Jacksonville to a 12-4 record in 2005, only to see them turfed out in the wild card round by New England. A return to mediocrity in 2006 came in the form of an 8-8 record, but the blow was softened by the brilliant selections of tight end Mercedes Lewis and running back Maurice Jones-Drew in the draft. They both found their feet as rookies in 2006 before helping propel Jacksonville back into the playoffs in 2007 with an 11-5 record. David Garrard had been installed as the team's new quarterback by now, impressing with 2,509 yards, 18 touchdowns, and just 3 interceptions. This time, there would be a postseason win to celebrate, in the form of a dramatic 31-29 win over the Pittsburgh Steelers, who had been in the Super Bowl just 2 years earlier. Of course, It was the Patriots who ended the fun 1 week later in the divisional round. Those 2 playoff berths were all that Jacksonville fans had to celebrate in the 2000s. Both were glimmers of hope and potential building blocks for sustained success, but neither produced anything close. After winning 11 games in 2007, the Jags regressed to win just 5 in 2008 and 7 in 2009. A change in general manager brought about some hope of a spark, only for the exact opposite to occur. After James "Shaq" Harris resigned from his role, the Jags' director of college scouting, Gene Smith, took over. In his short tenure of 4 years, he drafted just one single player who went on to log a Pro Bowl selection, and that player was a third-round punter. Smith also drafted Justin Blackmon in round 1 of the 2012 draft at 5th overall. Blackmon was certainly an exciting prospect as a 2-time Fred Blitnikoff Award winner, but he was out of the league after just 2 seasons due to substance abuse suspensions and several other run-ins with the law. To cap it all off, his hiring of head coach Mike Mularkey also proved to be a disaster in 2012, with a 2-14 record making his position untenable ahead of the next season. He was released after just 1 year, with 2 years still remaining on his contract. It was a disastrous few seasons for the Jags, who regressed from 8-8 in 2010 to 2-14 in 2012. 4 years of misses in the draft is going to set any franchise up for failure for many years to come, which is exactly what happened after the Gene Smith era in Jacksonville. Gus Bradley oversaw a 4-year stretch that featured just 15 wins to 49 losses, meaning it was his turn to be fired in 2016. To the credit of new general manager David Caldwell, some useful talent did make its way into the building throughout that stretch, most notably Allen Robinson in 2014, and defensive stars such as Dante Fowler, Jalen Ramsey, Miles Jack, and Yannick Ngakoue across the 2016 and 2017 drafts. Quarterback Blake Bortles also arrived in 2014, and whilst undoubtedly not a good quarterback, did manage to produce a season of magic in 2017. Aided by a beastly defense now nicknamed Saxonville, Bortles managed to elevate the Jags from 3 wins in 2016 to a stunning 10 wins in 2017. This was their first winning season in a decade, and their first division title since 1999. 1,000 yards from rookie running back Leonard Fournette, and a suffocating season from the defense stunned everyone, and the Jags managed to convert this into an AFC Championship game appearance. Against all the odds, Jacksonville appeared on track to down the Patriots dynasty in that clash, leading by 20 points to 10 in the 4th quarter before eventually falling to a Brady masterclass, with some help from the refs, of course. As was so often the case for Jacksonville, this rare glimmer of good quality football was swiftly replaced by misery, as they won just 11 games between 2018 and 2019 before properly capitulating with a 1-15 record in 2020, their worst in franchise history. Thankfully, the one silver lining of being that bad is that you get the top pick in the draft, and the Jags were lucky enough to own that pick in a year where Trevor Lawrence had declared. He was widely touted as a generational prospect and the ideal savior for the franchise. The only problem was, the team shot themselves in the foot by pairing him up with legendary college coach Urban Meyer. Between the abusive behavior, relentless losses, practice rule violations, and nightlife scandals, it was all a messy fiasco. Meyer didn't make it to the end of the season, getting fired after masterminding a 2-11 record during his tenure. For the generational franchise savior Lawrence, this was a horrendous introduction to the NFL, reflected in his sub 60% completion rate for 3,641 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 17 interceptions. Thankfully, things improved significantly when a proven NFL winner Doug Peterson took over in 2022. Lawrence made a massive leap forward to complete 66% of his passes for 4,113 yards, 25 touchdowns, and just 8 interceptions, winning 8 of their last 10 games to clinch a division title and a playoff berth. In comparison to the disasters of Urban Meyer's short tenure, this turnaround was truly staggering. And on the topic of turnarounds, something even more surprising happened in the wildcard round. Against the LA Chargers, Lawrence overcame 4 first-half interceptions to drag his team back from 27-0 down to 31-30 ahead at the end of the 4th quarter. It was an emotional victory that the fan base desperately needed, and Lawrence was now emerging as an exciting young leader to build around. A loss to Kansas City in the divisional round stopped the team from progressing any further, but there was plenty to be excited about for Jags fans, or so they thought. For the umpteenth time, the Jacksonville Jaguars failed to capitalize on the momentum of that breakthrough playoff season. An 8-3 record to open the 2023 campaign appeared to confirm Lawrence's role as savior, but a messy collapse saw the team finish 9-8 and miss the playoffs altogether, an outcome that was unthinkable just weeks earlier. Trevor Lawrence's 7 interceptions over the final 4 weeks of the season certainly contributed to this collapse, but that didn't stop the team from making him a top 5 paid quarterback ahead of the 2024 campaign, inking him to a 5-year, $275 million deal. Add in some handy draft picks in the form of Brian Thomas Jr. and the continued development of former top pick Trayvon Walker, and vibes were still high in Duval County. So much so that team owner Shad Khan is quoted saying, "Make no mistake, this is the best team assembled by the Jacksonville Jaguars ever. Best players, best coaches." Unfortunately, this confidence appeared misplaced as Jacksonville quickly fell to a 2-9 record, eventually posting just 4 wins to land the 5th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. In Trevor Lawrence's time in the NFL alone, we have seen the perfect summary of the Jaguars' fortunes as a franchise. The occasional glimmer of hope that is quickly snuffed out by inconsistency and crushing disappointment. This is now a team who have failed to post back-to-back playoff berths in 2.5 decades, dating all the way back to the late 1990s. Now, we enter a new era, with Liam Cohen as head coach and James Gladstone as general manager. The question is, will this finally be the partnership to save the Jacksonville Jaguars? We've heard this tune before, but maybe, just maybe, this time is different. What do you think? Make sure to let us know in the comments.